Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stella Ferris, and you've crash landed on the Monster Catcher Sternal podcast. Today, we will be doing a continuation of last week's episode. Last week, we talked about Kazanora. This week, we're going to talk about how I was able to put Kazanora's soul back together after it had been fragmented. I never thought I'd find it there. The final and largest fragment of Kazanora's soul sealed away inside an enormous white sake jar, buried deep beneath the old shrine ruins. His porcelain body was cracked and veined with moss, like time itself had tried to forget it, but the moment I brushed the dust from its rim, a warmth pulsed within me, faint but familiar, like Kazanora's breath against the glass of memory. I set the jar before me, lighting the soul candles around it, one for what was lost, one for what remained, and one for what could still be saved. The air thick, trembling with the sound, like wind moving through hollow bones. The shards of Kazanora's spirit I had gathered over the last few weeks began to stir in their pouches, rattling against the wooden table. I whispered the invocation of reweaving, the same one I'd once used to mend the heart of a drowned wisp. By bone, by breath, by echo's gleam, return, old soul, from broken dream, mend what time could not erase, and take again your rightful place. The sake jar shuddered. White mist poured out, filling the air with the scent of plum and ash. The fragments rose, circling with like firelight and fireflies made of memory. They merged slowly, painfully, into the swirling center above the jar. For a moment I saw Kazanora's face take shape, ghostly and sorrowful, eyes glowing faint blue. But then cracks spidered across the air, and the jar screamed. I steadied my hands. The last piece, the one I kept close to my heart since the start, was still in my pocket. The smallest and yet the most stubborn, the memory of Kazanora's first laugh. I pressed it to my chest, whispered, "You're not gone, Kaz. You never were." Then I placed it inside the mist. Like light exploded outward, blowing the candles out. When the glow faded, Kazanora was there, kneeling on the ground, whole again. Its mask gleamed like polished ivory, and its spirit threads woven soft through the air like ribbons of smoke. Kaznora looked at me and spoke, voice quiet but clear. "You found me, monster catcher. Even when I couldn't find myself." I smiled, tears cutting through the dust on my face. "Welcome home, old friend." Outside the wind shifted, the shrine's bells chimed on their own, and somewhere in the dark the spirits that had once tormented this place finally fell. The place was no more a trap conceded by the evacuation. We both fell silent for a minute, and for a long while neither of us really spoke. The still air shimmered faintly from the ritual. Dust motes drifted through the pale light like tiny little spirits, unsure whether to rest or watch. Kazanora's form pulsed faintly. Not entirely solid yet, but whole enough to breathe again. I reached out a hand, slow and gentle, so I wouldn't startle it. "Kazanora," I said quietly, "you don't have to wander anymore. Come home with me." Its glowing eyes blinked, soft blue, fading into gold for a moment. Surprise, maybe. Then its head tilted, mask creaking like old porcelain. "Home," it echoed, voice like the wind in a hollow reed. "I remember that word." "You'll remember more," I promised. "Bit by bit, we can start with something simple. I still have some glow tea back at the sanctuary," I told Kazanora. Kazanora's head tilted again. "The one that hums when you stir it?" That made me laugh, a real laugh, for the first time in a while. "No, that's not the one. But it's okay, you'll remember." I packed the remaining candles and tucked the cracked sake jar into my satchel. It had served its purpose and deserved a place of honor now. When I turned back, Kazanora was waiting at the edge of the shrine steps. Faint light curled around its shoulders like morning mist. The walk home was quiet, just the sound of leaves brushing and the faint hum of energy that followed in Kazanora's wake. When we reached I was about to say cabin, but it's not a cabin. It's a pyramid sanctuary house. But anyways, my pyramid sanctuary house, I lit the lantern soft orange against the blue of night and set the kettle over the fire. The tea glowed gently in our cups, golden green, pulsing with that same rhythm as a heartbeat. Kazanora held the cup delicately, steam curling around its mask. "It's warm," it said, almost in wonder. "It always was," I replied. We sat there for a long time, saying nothing more. Outside, the forest was calm. The other monsters, my companions, kept their distance, sensing something sacred in the air. Kazanora was home. Night settled in over my sanctuary house, the windows casting starlight like spilled silver. Kazanora sat across from me, finishing the last of the glow tea. Its porcelain mask caught the firelight, soft gold reflections flickering across the cracks. The other monsters lingered at the edge of the room. Lumapup's ears twitched nervously. Shadow Claw slinked closer to the shadows than usual, and Reaper Fish floated just above the floor, eyes glinting like tiny moons. None of them had ever seen Kazanora whole before. Even Orabeak watched from my shoulder. Kazanora noticed them too. Its voice was quiet, hesitant. "They watch me. They're curious," I said, reaching out to rest a hand on the table and a little cautious. "You've been gone a long time. They just want to make sure you're okay." Kazanora's mask tilted, a gesture almost like a shrug. "I think I am for now." It was the first time I'd heard it say "for now." The words trembled on its lips, or maybe in its voice itself, like a note held into long in the wind. I realized the pieces of its soul that had been returned were still fragile, still cautious of the world. I suggested we try something gentle. "Want to see your room?" I asked. "I've kept it ready, just in case you ever came back." Kazanora hesitated, then followed. Its steps were careful, each footfall quiet on the wooden floor. When we reached the small room, I opened the curtains. Moonlight spilled across the bed, and the little shelf I'd set up with tiny trinkets, soft glowing stones, and a few of its favorite objects I'd found along the way. Kazanora's eyes softened. "You remembered," it whispered. "Of course," I said. "I never forget." It climbed onto the bed and curled slightly, porcelain hands wrapped around itself as if it could hold together all its fragments with its own warmth. The other monsters stayed just outside the doorway, watching quietly, almost reverent. Even Shadow Claw settled on the floor, its tails curling around itself, sensing the gravity of the moment. I sat by the bed and offered my hand. Kazanora rested one fragile glowing finger against mine. For a long while we simply sat there, letting the quiet wrap around us like a soft cloak. "I feel like I could sleep," Kaznora finally said. "Then sleep," I whispered. "Tomorrow we'll figure out everything else. Tonight, just rest. You're home now." And for the first time since its soul had shattered, Kazanora's glow softened, steady and gentle like the slow pulse of a living star finally at peace. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, and somewhere deep in the forest the night monsters hummed softly as if welcoming it back. I woke before dawn to the faint hum of Kazanora's glow, soft and steady in the dim light. I had just poured a fresh cup of glow tea when there was a sharp knock at the door, so hard it made the walls vibrate. "Stella Ferris," my mother's voice snapped through the wood. "Open this door now!" My heart jumped. I didn't expect anyone, certainly not them, not here. I hesitated, then opened the door to find both my parents standing on the porch, their faces tight with anger. They weren't smiling, weren't the gentle caretakers I knew. Their eyes were hard, stormy. "Mom? Dad?" I said cautiously. What's wrong?" My father's voice was low and dangerous. "Do you have any idea what you've brought into this house?" I glanced behind me at Kazanora, who had sensed the tension immediately. The glyph's glow dimmed slightly, and it shrank back, curling near the far corner. I swallowed. "Kazanora I stumbled. "She's my friend. I found her. I put her soul back together." My mother's face darkened, and she stepped closer. "Stella Ferris, that friend is no ordinary monster. She is your sister." I froze. My sister? That didn't make sense. I had no older sister. What were they talking about? "What are you talking about?" I whispered, voice trembling. My father's jaw tightened. "Years ago, she was turned into a glyph. Her memory was wiped, her soul scattered into fragments. We've searched for her ever since that day. Kaznora, was never meant to be found by anyone, least of all you." Kaznora tilted his head, as if it understood the words, even if it couldn't fully grasp them. Its soft glow flickered, a pulse of confusion and fear. "You brought her into your home," my mother continued, her voice sharp with worry. "You've made her vulnerable. You don't know what it means to touch the soul of a glyph. You don't know the dangers." I shook my head, panic rising. "I didn't know. She's been hurt. But she's alive, her soul, her memory. She needed me." My father's eyes softened just a fraction. "Stella Ferris, we know you meant well, but this isn't a child's game. Kazanora, your sister, could be hurt again. The forces that made her a glyph are still out there, and now they'll know she's been found." Kazanora's glow shivered, almost like a heartbeat shuddering. Then it lifted its mask slightly and whispered, voice fragile, "Sister?" The word hung in the air like a spell. My chest tightened. I had spent weeks caring for it, watching it struggle to piece itself back together, and now I understood why. Some of the flickers in its memory had felt familiar, like home, like family. I knelt in front of Kazanora. "Yes, you're my sister, and I don't care what anyone says. You're staying with me. You're home now." My parents exchanged a tense glance. My mother sighed softer this time, though worry still etched her features. "If you're going to keep her here, Stella Ferris, then we'll have to prepare. You must understand what this means. There are things you don't know, things you'll have to face together." Kazanora's glow steadied, pulsing stronger now, and it whispered again, "Together, then." For the first time I saw its spirit, not as a broken down piece of a fragment, but as something that could fight, remember, and live. My sister was back, and we had to face the storm that had hidden her for so long. After what felt like an eternity, my parents finally stepped inside. My mother's hands shook slightly as she clasped them together, and my father's eyes stayed fixed on Kazanora, my sister, glowing faintly in the corner. "Set," my father said, my father said, voice heavy. "There are things you need to know, things about her, about all of this." I obeyed, heart hammering. Kazanora stayed close, almost instinctively pressing a hand, or what passed for a hand, against mine. Its glow pulsed, small but steady. My mother took a deep breath. "Before you were born, your sister, your older sister, was like you, a child of magic, of blood tied to the glyph line. But she was curious, brave, and stubborn beyond measure. One day she discovered the wrong artifact, a relic meant to trap and fragment a soul." Kaznora tilted its head slightly, faint recognition flickering in its glow. "It shattered her essence," my father continued. "Her soul scattered into pieces. Some were hidden by magic across this world. Some were consumed by the glyph artifact itself. Her memory was wiped to protect her, and to protect us. We tried everything to bring her back, but she became a glyph, an echo of herself. I felt tears prick my eyes, so all this time she's been trapped? Yes, my mother said softly, voice breaking, and the enemy that cursed her, the one who bound her soul, still exists. They are watching, waiting for a chance to finish what they started. That is why we are so angry by bringing her here. You've made her visible again, vulnerable. Kazanora's glow flickered rapidly, pulsing with confusion, fear, and something else, memory. Its voice was barely audible. I remember fragments, faces, home. Those are your memories returning, I whispered. You're piecing yourself back together. You're alive. You're here. And we'll protect you, I promise. My father nodded, finally meeting my eyes. We will protect her. But this is only the beginning. Whoever cursed her will not rest. You need to be ready, Stella Ferris, and she needs to learn to control the power inside her before they come for her again. I looked at Kazanora, whose glow had steadied, warm, and determined. I can't do it. I can't do this, it said. Its voice wavered but carried a new strength. I want to remember to fight with you. Then we start now, I said, together. We're not letting them take you again. Outside the wind howled like a warning, but inside the cabin, or, well, what I should say is my pyramid-shaped house, was quiet, filled only with the pulsing glow of a sister reclaimed, a family reunited, and the unspoken promise of battles yet to come. Even though Kazanora was back with me, safe and whole, a shadow hung over us. My parents had explained the curse, the soul fragments, the enemy still out there. But there was one truth they left me to process on my own. Kaznora would never be human again. The glow pulsed softly in my pyramid house that night. Almost mournful. I wanted to cry, to scream, to shake the world for being so cruel, but mostly I just sat there and held its hand, tracing the soft lines of porcelain and light. The next morning I couldn't help my anger boiled or bottled anymore. Or I couldn't keep my anger bottled anymore, not at my sister. Never her, but at Orion. He had known, he always knew. Somehow he had known that Kazanora was more than a monster, more than a glyph. He had known that my sister was Kazanora and that she would never return to being human. I stormed into his classroom without knocking. The room froze. Students stared. Orion looked up from his desk, calm as ever, but I didn't care about calm anymore. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded, voice shaking. Why did you let me let her go through all of this without warning me? You knew. Orion leaned back, expression unreadable. Stella Ferris, it wasn't my place. I had to make sure you were ready, that you could handle it. Telling you too soon could have... Could have what? I snapped, stepping closer. Kept me from saving her? Kept me from finding her? She's my sister, Orion, my sister. And you just let me flounder in the dark while she was broken. The classroom was silent except for the faint hum of energy from Kazanora's glow that followed me everywhere. Orion's eyes softened slightly. I understand your anger, he said quietly, but you've already done more than anyone else could have. You brought her back. You've given her a life she wouldn't have had otherwise. That matters more than what I withheld. I shook my head, tears threatening to spill. It still matters, Orion. I should have known. I should have had a chance to prepare. You could have trusted me. Orion sighed and finally stood, walking slowly towards me. Stella Ferris, sometimes even I have to weigh the cost of the truth. But I promise you this. Nothing I've done was meant to hurt you. Or you. We'll face this together. And I'll make sure you're never left in the dark again. I swallowed my frustration, but the anger didn't vanish completely. Not yet. Kazanora's soft glow seemed to pulse against my chest, like it knew I needed to be furious, that it was part of the process of accepting this new reality. I clenched my fist. Fine. But if I find out you ever keep something like this from me again, Orion, I won't forgive you so easily next time. Orion gave a small, weary smile. As calm and steady as always. I'll remember that. And just like that, the room settled. But inside me, a fire had been lit. One that would push me to protect Kazanora, to prepare for the battles ahead, and to never let anyone take my sister from me again. And that, my friends, is another episode of the Monster Catcher's Journal podcast. Thank you for listening.